Radhe Krishna, welcome back to my channel. Today's topic is major water bodies of the earth. Water is a unique feature of earth. Water is found in many water bodies such as seas, oceans, lakes, ponds, rivers and streams, and even underground. Due to this abundance of water, earth is also called a blue planet. 71% of the earth's surface is covered with water and the remaining 29% makes up the land. The watery part of the earth is known as the hydrosphere. The hydrosphere consists of water in all its forms. In the usual form of water, which we find in various kinds of water bodies, the gaseous form of water, which is water vapor in the atmosphere, and the solid form of water, which is found in the polar regions and mountain regions such as glaciers and ice sheets. So the hydrosphere consists of water in all its forms. The water cycle or the hydrological cycle is simply defined as the process of water when it changes its form from one form to another. Water is continuously moving from its water bodies to the atmosphere and back again, and the cycle reverses again. So this is known as the water cycle or the hydrological cycle. As the sun heats up all the water bodies, water reaches the atmosphere when evaporation takes place in the form of water vapor, and then this forms clouds and then condensation takes place. As the water cools down and temperature drops and the water starts turning back into tiny water droplets. So now when it's back to water droplets, it cannot stay floating in the air forever. So precipitation takes place and water drops back to the earth in the form of rain, snow, hail or sleet. So this water gets collected in all the different water bodies and even underground, and the rivers and streams carry this water back into the oceans, and thus the water cycle is a never-ending process. 97% of the earth's water is obviously found in seas and oceans. This water is saline and too salty for human use. So oceans obviously have their own uses, but this is too salty for human consumption, so we have only 3% of fresh water left. But out of this 3%, 2% is already in the form of glaciers and ice sheets, which are in the polar regions and mountain areas, so they are far from human reach. So the only 1% of water that is within human reach is also divided and found in rivers, seas and oceans, underground water in the form of water vapor, and out of this 1%, 0.68% of groundwater is there and 0.0019% of water vapor is also there. So oceans are the largest water bodies on the earth. They have their own uses and there are 5 major oceans: the Pacific Ocean, Atlantic Ocean, Indian Ocean, Arctic Ocean and Antarctic Ocean. So we'll start first with the Pacific Ocean. The Pacific Ocean is the largest and deepest ocean of them all. In the around the Pacific Ocean's edges, there are active volcanic mountains which are known as the Ring of Fire in the Pacific Ocean. So the name Pacific for the Pacific Ocean was named to it by Ferdinand Magellan, who sailed the Pacific Ocean years, maybe centuries ago, and when he sailed this ocean, he found it really peaceful. So he named it Mar Pacifico, which means peaceful sea in Portuguese. So it gets its name as the Pacific Ocean. The Pacific Ocean is the deepest ocean in the world. The Mariana Trench is the deepest part of the Pacific Ocean, and the Challenger Deep that's in the Mariana Trench is the deepest point of all the whole wide world. So the Pacific Ocean is also home to 75% of the active volcanoes in the world. And obviously the Pacific Ocean is the largest ocean in the world. So moving on, next the Atlantic Ocean. The Atlantic Ocean is the second largest ocean in the world. The Atlantic Ocean, in the center of the Atlantic Ocean, there is a submerged mountain range of mountains which are known as the Mid-Atlantic Ridge. And the Atlantic Ocean, alongside its coasts, it has natural harbors and ports. And the Atlantic Ocean is the busiest ocean in the point of trade and transportation. The Atlantic Ocean is also the second largest ocean in the world, and it's also the saltiest ocean of them all. The reason for its salinity is probably mainly contributed to precipitation, evaporation, sea ice melting, and other processes as well. So the Atlantic Ocean, along the coast of the Atlantic Ocean is longer than the Pacific Ocean and the coastal lines of the Indian Ocean as well. The Atlantic Ocean is in the shape of an S, and the Atlantic Ocean has Europe and Africa on its western coasts, and North America and South America on its eastern coasts. So moving on, the Indian Ocean. The Indian Ocean is the only ocean that is named after a country, that is India. This is because India is located on top of the Indian Ocean, which gives it its name, the Indian Ocean, obviously. So the Indian Ocean has Australia on its western coasts, western I think, yes, and Africa on its eastern coasts and Asia on its north. So the Indian Ocean is almost in the shape of a triangle, and the Indian Ocean has many islands in it as well. The Indian Ocean is was also known as the Voyage Sea till the 15th century, which gives it a great remarkable historical mark in the point of spice trade. The Indian Ocean also has many islands, and out of this, the Sri Lanka and Madagascar are the largest islands in the Indian Ocean. The Indian Ocean is also the third largest ocean in the world, and the Indian Ocean has many islands, as I told you. The Lakshadweeps, Maldives and the Chagos are the low coral islands. As for the island Reunion and other islands as well, they are the high volcanic islands. So the Indian Ocean is the third largest ocean in the world. The greatest depth of the Indian Ocean is in the Sunda Deep in the Java Trench, which is off the coast of the southern island of Java, in Indonesia, by the way. So moving on, the Southern Ocean. The Southern Ocean is located completely in the southern hemisphere, and since it's in the polar regions near the South Pole, it is covered in ice, and during winters, half of the Southern Ocean is covered in ice. And the Southern Ocean, the southern part of the Southern Ocean is the McMurdo Station, which is an American-based research base. So the Southern Ocean is also known as the Southern Ocean is also known as the Antarctic Ocean. And remember when I said the southern part of the Southern Ocean has the McMurdo Station, which is the American-based research-based lab, or whatever you want to call it. So I meant the McMurdo Station, and I have a problem pronouncing it, so let's just move on. So the Southern Ocean is also known as the Antarctic Ocean. The Southern Ocean during winters is half of it is covered in ice, and it's located obviously in the polar regions. So moving on, we have the Arctic Ocean, and this Arctic Ocean is the smallest and shallowest of all the oceans. The Arctic Ocean is located in the north. It is near the North Pole. It circles the North Pole, and it extends southwards till the Arctic Circle. So this Arctic Ocean is located also near the polar regions, and drifting icebergs and glaciers are common characteristics of the Arctic Ocean. The Arctic Ocean also has the lowest salinity in all the oceans. The Arctic Ocean also is believed to have some of the petroleum that is still undiscovered in the world. And the Arctic Ocean is not navigable. So do not try going for a sailing trip there, okay? Believe me, it's a friendly advice. So, moving on, humans throughout history have been directly or indirectly dependent on oceans. Oceans have given us many things, and they have been helpful to us in many ways. For example, oceans moderate the climate around. By that I mean they absorb the solar radiation, and they use this heat, they spread this heat to various parts of the world equally, and they help in maintaining the temperature like this. And other causes are a source of food. Oceans are a great source of marine food, which has been like probably fish, which has been humans' food since years, probably centuries, unless you count vegetarians who obviously do not eat meat, and a host of other edible aquatic animals as well. So oceans also provide us with various minerals such as salt, magnesium, bromide, and also they provide us with oil and gas. When animals die, they sink to the ocean floors, and over a period of million years they start to decompose and they form oil and gas under the surface of the ocean. So this is later extracted from the ocean by us humans. And on top of all this, oceans also provide us with hydroelectricity and provide us with means of transportation. The usual movements that take place in the oceans, like ocean waves and ocean currents and tides, they are powerful enough to generate electricity or energy, renewable energy, which is useful to us in many ways. Many developed countries like Canada, South Korea, Australia, New Zealand, they use ocean energy as well. And on top of all this, oceans provide us with means of transport for us and countless organisms. So hats off to the oceans, and let's move on to seas. So the seas are smaller than the oceans, and the sea is a part of the ocean that is smaller and shallower than the oceans. So seas can be like completely landlocked like the Dead Sea, or half surrounded by land, or completely open like the Arabian Sea. So there are many seas in the world, and the biggest of them all is the Mediterranean Sea in when you count the area it occupies, and it is also the deepest sea in the world. So there are other seas as well, leaving beside the Mediterranean Sea for now, like many other seas like the Arabian Sea and the Caspian Sea and many other seas as well. So seas are also of a type which is the marginal seas. A marginal sea is basically surrounded by islands or continents, and these marginal seas, they provide identification for the coastal islands, and they also for the coastal zones, and they also prevent the ocean waves, the terrible, harmful, well, they're not harmful, but they obviously cause tsunamis, the oceans do. So since seas are way less terrifying than oceans, they protect the coastal zones from the waves of the oceans, because seas are less dangerous than them. So that's about marginal seas. But we have heard many people saying the Bering Strait, haven't we? But okay, the Bering Strait, it obviously plays a role. I mean, I don't know about it, but the Bering Strait, okay, it's the Bering Strait, but what exactly is a strait? Well, here's your answer. A strait is a narrow strip of water that separates two large land masses and joins two large water bodies, such as the Bering Strait, as you've obviously heard a million times by now, and the Strait of many other straits as well. And for now, we'll move on to rivers. Right, oceans and seas done, rivers. A river is a narrow stream of flowing water, narrow or wide, of flowing water, which is obviously fresh water, unlike oceans and seas, which have saline water. So the river originates from a highland and drains into another water body, such as seas or lakes. So the rivers, the birthplace of a river is known as the source of a river, and the part where it drains into another water body is known as the river's mouth. So there are many kinds of rivers in the world. Some of them are the Mississippi, Amazon, Nile, Rhine, the Indus, Ganga, Huangho, Murray, and many other rivers as well. So coming to the characteristics of the rivers meander a lot, and I'll get to that later. Rivers are often narrow and wide, and others are dozens of feet deep. Rivers often tend to be narrow at its birthplace and wide when it drains into another water body, such as lakes or seas. So rivers also greatly vary in depth. Some may be shallow and like ankle deep, and while others may be dozens of feet deep. So rivers also tend to meander a bit, which means they have twists and turns depending upon the geography of the land that they're on. For example, rivers that are on plainer land, they tend to meander less rather than rivers that are in hilly areas, which obviously will meander more. So other characteristics of rivers: river banks, especially the place where two rivers meet, provide ideal place for forming civilizations as well. And coming to the importance of rivers, they are damn important. Rivers are so because rivers provide rivers provide habitat, means of transport, and nourishment to countless organisms. And they also provide means of transport to us as well. And they also leave valuable sediments such as silt and gravel behind, which fertilizes the land in a natural way, and this fertilizes the land good for growing crops and all. So rivers are also important as they provide us with means of transport, and throughout prehistory, rivers have been a source of food for humans. They provide us with fish and many other edible aquatic animals as well throughout prehistory, and they also keep on providing us with source of marine food till today as well. So moving on, let's move on to lakes. So lakes are obviously much smaller than seas or oceans, and lakes are completely landlocked. So a lake is formed when water accumulates on the surface of the earth and forms a deep depression. Lakes are formed by remains of glaciers, blocked rivers, or rivers that fill natural basins. Lakes have standing water as they have been blocked by beaver dams, humans, and natural rock cavities. And also the shorelines of lakes are nurseries for fish. Lakes also have their own importance. By that I mean lakes help us very much. They moderate the climate around them, lakes do, and lakes also help rivers during heavy rainfalls not to overflow. They prevent the rivers from overflowing, and during the dry season they help to maintain a steady flow of water. Lakes also maintain the aquatic ecosystem, and they help tourism develop, and they provide recreation through activities like fishing and boating. So we have done with lakes for now. So if you were to ask me, I would actually right now tell you about pollution of water bodies, but since I have already discussed that in the previous videos, I don't see a reason in repeating it in today's video. So I guess that's it for today. Until next time, I'm Aradhya. I'll see you in the next video.